Today, I'm joined by the lovely Kimberly Haley Coleman of Global Wear.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
I do too. This is great. While I have you here, can you kind of tell me a little bit about like who you
Right.
are, what you
Sure.
do?
Absolutely. So I am with Globalware. We are a volunteer vacation provider. So people who are looking to go on vacation, but they want to serve and not just do regular touristy stuff, going to churches and museums and things like that, but they want to actually engage with the local community in a really interesting way. That's what we do. We do 1 week, 6 night, 7 day programs all around the world. They're all offered throughout the year. And it's just a really fun, different, interesting way to connect with humanity. So, as an example, we install concrete floors in the homes of single moms in Guatemala. We assemble and distribute wheelchairs to landmine victims in Cambodia. We build wattle and daub style homes in Kenya. Some of these projects are closer to home, like Puerto Rico and Costa Rica, and some are further in Laos, Vietnam, and so on. And they're pretty affordable. They're around $1,200 to $1,400, and it covers everything except airfare, and it's a tax deduction. So it's a kind of interesting way of travel, and you learn not only about the culture, but you meet other fellow volunteers who are interesting and interested in service, which is just a fun way to meet people. So we see it as a great way to help a local community, with your own hands, helping your heart. A lot of employers like Salesforce, Microsoft, Facebook, and so on will often pay for these programs through contribution matching. A lot of people don't realize their employers have that kind of program, which makes it even cheaper, or they'll provide volunteer paid days off. So when people are looking at their first job, looking at the HR benefits that come with your employer, that's an important thing to do. Look and see, hey, what other benefits do they have besides, any sort of health care or pay time off, that kind of thing, because it's really a way of maximizing, a bucket list experience that might be hard to figure out otherwise. A lot of people dream about doing things like the Peace Corps, but that's a 2.5 year commitment, and a lot of people just to make that work isn't necessarily logistically very feasible. So that's a little bit about what, and we also have projects and programs working with animals, in the Galapagos, or working with elephants in Thailand, or doing a game count in Zimbabwe. These are the kinds of things that on one's own would probably be difficult to try and sort out, but we try and make that easy, really plug and play. So they go and people just say, hey, where do I want to go and when, and sign up, and we handle the rest.
That is amazing, Kimberly. Like I'm listening to you at the same time taking notes. Um, and you said you're a volunteer vacation provider.
That's right. That's
How
right. And so it means that instead of just going and hanging out on the beach or going to churches and museums, we're going and installing a concrete floor for a few hours, and then we still go and see the sites. And then we play soccer with the local kids. And then we learn how to make tortillas with the local mamas. So you're doing all of that. You're not just doing touristy stuff. You're doing these heart projects that help someone. You're standing side by side as equals. Our coordinator, who's bilingual, is there with our volunteers, and we have hired local foremen that lead the project so that we're doing it the local way. We're not building hospitals and roads. They're smaller scale kinds of projects that we finish in that week. And we also set aside, 3 to 5 planned but optional leisure and culture excursions. So, if you go to the Galapagos, you're still having time to go to the beach and see, hang out and do all the regular touristy sites too. It's just a way of really experiencing life in a way, You wouldn't likely experience it if you just do traditional travel. Um, and that's really what it's designed for, is so that our volunteers, the people who are willing to serve with us, are experiencing something that they otherwise likely wouldn't. They're helping others, they're helping their heart, they're meeting interesting people that, again, they just aren't likely to have met if they were to engage only in more traditional travel.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's amazing. That's like so much like information at once.
it
I
is
gotta
a lot of information at once. It is. Yeah, it is. And we love answering people's questions. We have, all sorts of social media. If you go to, we have our own podcast channel where we discuss what our projects and programs are like, and we interview our volunteers. We have all sorts of YouTube videos. So if you wanted to see what is it like if I volunteer to count animals during a census in Zimbabwe? What does that look like? What are the accommodations like? What is the visa process like? We have, of course, on Facebook and Instagram, all sorts of video clips and interviews and updates with what's going on with our projects. So, um, lots of information out there. And of course, even our old fashioned website that lists all the programs we work, the dates, the cost. A lot of people, particularly our younger volunteers, will often wonder, well, why would I have to pay to volunteer? And we do not get any sort of government funding. So if you're going on our programs, you're going to countries where people have far less resources, people without running water, often without electricity, without any access to healthcare and education. So even though our volunteers stay in accommodations with running water and flushing toilets and all that, the local community members usually don't have any of that. And so there's nobody to pay for those accommodations and food and materials and bilingual coordinators that are there leading you through it without our volunteers paying to cover their costs. But in exchange, it's a tax write-off. They'll pay the $1,400 that comes off their taxable income. And again, so many employers will pay a good chunk for their employees to go on this kind of program. If they just look in their HR benefits, usually, particularly a company that's got more than, say, 100, 200 staff, they usually have some sort of corporate social responsibility program that will enable them to do this kind of thing. And again, it's a, you know, an adventure in service. Some people call them volunteer vacations. And again, it's not the kind of thing a lot of people know about. People who do the Peace Corps certainly get a great dose of this. But again, most people just don't have the kind of time to give to be able to do that for 2.5 years. So,
I was
anyway,
gonna
so that's
ask,
a
yeah,
little bit about
what's
what we
the?
do.
I was gonna ask what is the time frame? You said a few weeks, and then you said 2 years.
Now, all of our programs are 6 nights, so they're a week. They're offered every other week throughout the year, all of our programs. So if you want to go to Romania this week, or you want to go to Thailand, or you want to go to the Galapagos, you want to go to Costa Rica or Guatemala, they're all offered all the time.
I definitely do want to go. I live in Illinois. Any of those places would be a totally different experience than where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, for most people, right? I mean, they're designed to put people in, and again, this is where, looking at our social media, our Instagram, our Facebook, is ways of seeing what is it like. People who haven't traveled outside of the US are understandably, hesitant and maybe afraid. What is the safety situation like? What are the accommodations? Will I be able to eat the food there? That kind of thing. And so we cover medical insurance and liability insurance and all the transportation. We pick people up as soon as they arrive at the airport. It's really, people just sign up, just like somebody might sign up for a cruise. You just go and you pick your location and your date and you sign up. We have fundraising platforms and so on, but really, um, there are lots of different ways to finance this. And I'm, while, there are periods where people knew a lot about, um, this kind of thing. I think after COVID, between 2020 and 2023, the younger generations didn't seem to be know much about this because there was some momentum lost in the world of travel during COVID for a few years. So we're trying to get the word back out there so people see what we've done, what we've always done. We've been doing it for 25 years. We work in consultative status with the United Nations and International Volunteer Programs Association, Travelocities, Travel for Good. We have all sorts of affiliations and associations so that we're maintaining high quality and safety standards during our programs. The real goal is getting our volunteers to really know locals in a way they wouldn't know otherwise. They don't have to speak the language. They don't have to have special skills. We don't require our volunteers aren't doctors without borders. We're not engineers without borders. We expect that our volunteers are coming without speaking the language, without any special skills. They're going to learn, and we work at 4 to 5 hours a day on our service project. And the rest of the time we're doing leisure and culture activities and getting to know the other members of our group.
That is so phenomenal. Like, I mean, I'm just absorbing everything you're saying and taking notes. Uh, you're essentially like dream makers. I mean, you're the first person that I've heard that actually does anything like this.
Yeah, well, I like hearing that, and I do feel like we identify with that because um, we do feel like the kinds of experiences we offer are life changing. That said, we are not heroes, and we try and make sure our volunteers understand that the local community is usually faster and better at everything we do than we are. So our volunteers are actually learning. We're not superheroes. We're coming in as partners. The local community usually knows what they want and how they want to do it. Um, we aren't there telling them what their needs are or what their
Right.
challenges are. And there was a term coined, I'm guessing 10, 12 years ago, called the white man saviors complex. And it was, there were providers out there that were um, giving a bad name to some service organizations because the way they were operating was coming from a place of, hey, we're here from this culture and we can fix all your issues and we know how to do it. And that's a very different mindset than the way Globe Aware operates. Because again, we're partners and we're learning alongside our community members, our coordinators who are from that country, who are the person leading, shepherding our little teams of volunteers. We usually have about 10 people per group. Our coordinator who's in charge of that is from that country. They're bilingual. They've usually been working with us for a couple of decades. They know what volunteers from the United States and North America are like, what they need, what they enjoy, what they have difficulty with. And so they're taking them through that process. And again, a really easy way of getting a sense for this is on our social media. We are easy to find. A lot of people think we're global aware. We're globe
Well,
aware,
aware.
Globe, globe aware. And whether you're looking for our YouTube channel, our podcast channel, our website, our Facebook, our Instagram, any of those things, Twitter, it's Globe Aware is the handle for all of them across the board.
I
And
did
we love to talk to people who have questions about it. So,
I just followed the Facebook page and I just subscribed to the YouTube page. I just saw briefly a video of you speaking. Um I think it was from a year ago. So I'm definitely gonna dive into the description in your channels and stuff. I'm gonna pull all the links and stuff like that, and I'm gonna put all your information in this episode. I'm gonna put it in the description and try to do my best to like mention all your channels and just to give a little, like a little summary. But I'm new to all of this, but I'm definitely like I'm interested. So like I got so many questions. Like one question I have is there a cap amount of times like somebody can do this? Like
No, nope. We have so many of our volunteers come back every year. They're just going to a different country each time. What we've seen is a lot of people who have not traveled out of the country much. They'll usually choose a location closer to home, like our Mexico program, Puerto Rico, Costa. And then once they've done that and see how there are no skills, nothing required, that it makes them more bold and they start going to our other programs across the world. But again, there's a cost. It's, 14, $1,500. So it's not just because of that, uh, there's a financial limitation. And people are not staying at the Ritz Carlton when they go on our programs. They're staying in more mid-range accommodations, um, which still feel, in terms of luxury, much higher standard of living than many of our locals are able to have. And we only operate, because safety and liability is a really important thing for us. We are not operating in war-torn countries or any place where there's an active disease outbreak. We're not in Palestine or Darfur or Somalia or Afghanistan or any place there's a real travel alert, because we know that we would go out of business if anything happened to our volunteers. So we have to operate in places where safety is a key piece. Because a lot of people will even bring, hey, their little brother, their big sister, their grandmother. It's a different kind of travel. It's not just like honeymoon travel. It's more adventure travel. And so we got to keep people safe regardless of what their background is.
is the length can if someone has the financial ability to, can somebody say go to one place for like 2 to 3 weeks, or is it's
Yeah.
1 week at a time? Then you
Yeah, yeah, and that is, that we see all of that happen. We'll see people where they'll stay more than 1 week, or they'll do the service portion for the first week and stay and do independent travel the second week because they learned so much the first week on how do things work here, what are the kinds of food, how do you get around, you learn all of that. And then, but more often than not, what we do is we see people who will go on one program now and then a different one every year, mainly because vacation time, once somebody's working, and they're not getting 6 weeks of vacation. They're lucky if they get 5 days, let alone 2 weeks. So, and we know that, which is why our programs are short. And we try to group them around 4th of July, um, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, Labor Day, times when we know people are already going to have a day off so that they're only going to have to hopefully take maybe 3 days of vacation. But again, a really growing number of employers are providing paid volunteer time off. So, for example, they'll say, hey, we're going to only give you 5 days of paid vacation. However, if you're willing to go serve for an approved service provider, we'll give you an extra 5 days and we'll pay you for that. And our program is one that is usually approved. So it means, again, it just makes it more accessible. We don't have any sort of religious or political affiliation, which makes it easier for most employers to want to work with us. And we're really focused on trying to finish something significant in a short period of time. And that's one of the things that makes our projects and programs different. But again, every program is different. Depending on where you go, you're going to be doing different service. And so this is why, for people who are interested in doing this kind of thing, starting with the website, looking at what countries am I interested in, and then looking at some of the videos and descriptions of the work. Is this something I can see myself doing or not? We get a lot of phone calls and emails with people saying, hey, I've never traveled outside of the US. Where do you recommend I go? And we love having these conversations because we think If you've never traveled outside of the US, starting with a place like India or Cambodia is a real culture shock unless you already have some kind of connection to that culture, whether it's through heritage or family or friends or something like that. So we usually steer people to cultures that are a little closer to the United States to begin with, just so they get that comfort level with cultural differences. But we have those conversations every day and we welcome them and we love having them. We know this is still a new concept, particularly for people under the ages of 25. This is something that a lot of them haven't heard of.
Have you had a lot of have you had a lot of experiences with like churches, schools, groups, jobs,
Yeah.
employers, and contractors? Like all.
Yeah. So what we do is, when people go to the website, they'll see all of their countries and dates to choose from. And then they may wonder, why is not every week listed there? The reason they aren't is when schools and corporations and church groups call, they'll pick those weeks that aren't listed, and that's usually when they go. If we know enough in advance, we'll let them have any week they want to go. And the other thing we'll do is tailor that program to the group if it's 10 or more. So, for example, if there's a company or a church that wants to go for only 4 days to Guatemala, or if they want to go to India and only work on something that's going to benefit kids with special needs. Um, if we've got a school group that's wanting to do an engineering project, we work with NCS. We work with lots of schools, colleges, high schools for their service. So those weeks that aren't listed, we tend to use for those custom tailored trips.
I'm definitely gonna follow up deeply. I'm a part of a ministry myself. It's actually my dad and his wife are both
Oh, that's
ministry,
great.
and it's growing. And like something like this, and the timing of all this is just it's so miraculous. I just want to say for a minute, like I think it's incredible what they're doing and the courage and the bravery that this takes, and on top of just how many people that you're being a blessing to, how many people get to step outside of their comfort zone, how many people get to try something new. You said the transportation and the food and the housing is that's all included.
And the materials and the medical insurance, and our bilingual coordinator that's with them. What is not included? Airfare, although airfare is tax deductible when it's done in conjunction with our programs. And we can usually help give tips and tricks on how do you make this affordable? What time of year do you go, when, what are things like that. And some place like Costa Rica, you can go to for $350 round trip if you do it the right time of year. And that is tax deductible as long as it's not first class and it's a direct flight for a lot of people. Um, so airfare is not included, alcohol is not included, and then we think that everybody should bring roughly $200 for spending money, whether it's for souvenirs or any extra snacks. Like we tell, even though we provide meals, we think it's a good idea for people to bring things like granola bars or peanut butter, just in case they get hungry or, for whatever reason. Anyway, so those are the things it doesn't cover. Any sort of souvenirs, alcohol, and airfare. That's airfare is really a for-profit business. We are not legally allowed to really buy and sell airfare. That's not what we do.
I know it varies, like any place you would go, but like certain questions I've always had about certain, like what do we have similar stores in America that these places have? Like, what kind of what is there, like, are you able to travel around like in the cities, like during their free time, like go to, is there a Walmart or is there a
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, like, for example, our Costa Rica program, we often stop at Walmart on the way in and the way out, and there are things to buy and all, yeah. And every place is different. Some places are more rural and some are more urban. Some are right in the middle of town, like our Peru Cusco program. You're in the middle I mean, it's the number one most touristed spot in all of South America, and all of the infrastructure is there for it. There's every other shop is a bar, a restaurant, a souvenir, and it's all very, it's all cobblestone, walkable, uh, places where you can, in your free time, get. It's like walking around New Orleans or I don't know, like Pilsen in Chicago, where just places where you can walk and everything is available to you for your free time. Other places like our Costa Rica program, we're about 5 miles from the city, but we're very close to small shops, so they all vary. And in most of our program locations, some version of Uber is also available. Sometimes they don't use the exact same app. There will be some other app, but our coordinator is there to show people what that is and how it works.
Do you
That's
do
why we
any
have a coordinator.
do you do
It's the
any
rule.
cruise do you do any cruises like carnival cruises like ship by boats? It's places.
No,
That that's
no,
a,
no,
that,
no.
that's incredible. Like you've made so many different your marketing ability and the connections that you have are so they're just so big. Like where do you see what is the goals like with this in the next year, next 5 years? How do you even think you could branch out even more? And what are some things maybe like are you looking to get any like what other services are you looking to acquire?
So, we're in terms of growth, we're always interested in new safe locations to expand to. And we're always looking, we have a pretty solid base with the 30 years and older crowd. So our growth, I would say, would be more young people, having more people travel with us, more school groups. Um, Even if it's in our current locations, that would be the biggest area of growth because it's real, we have our coordinators there leading the projects in every country. It's really easy for them to keep adding new projects and programs. We don't do that. I don't do that here from my office. That's happening locally. Our coordinator, our staff is in Costa Rica. We have a Costa Rican who's been running it for 20 years. He's working with the local community saying, hey, do we need to fix this bridge, paint this mural, plant these trees? He's sitting there working with them. So we're always growing in that way, but that's locally driven, and which is how it should be. Then the projects and programs continue to live and are sustainable. That's really
How,
what our thoughts are for growth.
how does somebody like if they're interested in like supporting you or even like working with you or for you, like how does that go?
Well, in terms of working for us, most of the people who work for us work in country. So if somebody's in country, um, and it's really not easy to do in terms of contacting us, because here's what happens. Let's say our Guatemala coordinator has a group of 10 people coming and they're going to put in a concrete floor in the home of a single mom. They're hiring the local foreman concrete workers. So unless you live there, we're not going to be hiring you. You're going to be coming and volunteering, and it's your money that is paying for that concrete worker to have a job and to pay for the materials and to put a floor in the home of this single mom who otherwise wouldn't have one. So we're really not hiring in that sense because we're hiring locals,
That's
you
amazing.
know.
Uh have how many places have you been? Like
Oh,
have you ever been like, with this in a
oh
different
yeah.
place doing it?
Oh yeah. I've been on, I mean, I don't know how I mean, over 100 countries. I couldn't even tell you. Um, I spend a lot of time abroad, but and whenever I'm setting up a new program, I'm usually there for a bit. But and when we have big corporate groups, I'll sometimes get to go on those. So it really just depends. But I couldn't tell you. I couldn't
Tell
tell
me
you.
Tell me this, and then this will be my last question. And thank you so much for your time. And I hope we can do this again. I'm so glad that you reached out to me. I'll definitely be following up, and when we get off here, I'm gonna take some of your info and blast it out here on my YouTube channels. I do a lot of reaching out with engagements on my post channel and Facebook. But I'm gonna ask you two questions. Tell me tell me two things, two of your like most favorite or memorable things that have come from this experience. Like, tell me two things, like specifically to you. Like, what are your two favorite things from this since you started?
Well, I have a couple that stand out. One was giving out my first wheelchair to a child and seeing the parents' eyes when I gave
Yeah,
the wheelchair over was a real memorable, made me cry moment because I'm a
absolutely.
mother. I have 2 kids in college and one is in Illinois, and, seeing that feeling that connection as a mother of having the same hopes and dreams and fears for my children, it was really, a unique moment for me. And then the other is seeing my children serve on these project locations and seeing the joy. It's something that people don't think about. When you serve someone else, what does it do for you? How empowered you feel, how joyful you feel, how adventurous it feels. And you can plant a tree, fix something for someone anywhere, but somehow being in another culture, it really puts your mind space someplace else, seeing the different clothing, music, architecture, food. It's just such a wonderful, joyful thing. And it's funny. The other day, I looked up on ChatGPT what they had to say about globalware and these kinds of programs, and I encourage you to look up that and just see, as a different way of looking into something. I mentioned all the social media, but anyway, because it's a lot. You had mentioned it is a lot of. It's a big concept, and when it's new to people. Um, for all those pieces to make sense in your head on what it is we do and how it works, it can be hard to get it right off the bat. So anyway, we know it can be overwhelming.
God bless you so much, Kimberly, and God bless you and your family. That's just amazing, and it's so great how the reciprocal of when we give, we get so much in
Yeah,
return.
so true.
And the services that you're providing is life changing. So thank you for that, and just I I I pray for nothing but success for you, and just make sure you tell anybody that's affiliated with you I said hello and that I'm proud of them, and just thank everybody that you can um, for allowing me to learn a lot about what you guys do, and it's just exciting.
Well, hey, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the opportunity. I do hope we meet again soon. We'd love to chat with your church too. Make some memorable bucket list item for them too.
I would love that. Hopefully, one day I get my father on camera with me. He's 75, but he's actually going to preach in Arkansas from October 25th to November 1st. Him and his wife. So I'm gonna show him this. I'm gonna blast this on my social media too. Hope yeah, you got my contact information. I got yours. I want to reach out, again anytime if we could do this, and anything that I can do to just assist with global where I would love to.
Well,
You've
I
been,
sure appreciate it. Thank you again.
you've been incredible. I mean, God bless you. Like I'm so happy that we had this, and thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will definitely be talking to you soon.
All right, you take care. Thank you.
Bye bye.